Welcome to Geeks and Grounds, a monthly game club and bi-weekly podcast where we play games and brew thoughtful conversation together. In case you're new, or if you need a refresher, we focus on one game a month, really percolate over it, if you will, and we do that so we can deep dive into its themes, its mechanics, and make those connections between what we play and our own lives. I am your host, Jenny Wyndham. I have my investigative jazz going?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the genre that they mention in the radio. And back with us in the cafe, we have the notable notable stumped gamer, Anna.
Hello again. It's so good to be back and finally chatting about the game with spoilers and like talking more about the themes and stuff.
I am super excited. In case you didn't know, we've been playing The Roottrees Are Dead this month. It's a genealogical deductive game, mystery, all about investigating a family's past and their history. And we find out it's to impact some of what happens in their future. Really excited because I love a good deductive mystery game. I love taking notes. I love doing the mimicked internet searches in there. So yeah, we're going to get into all of that with a spoiler full discussion. But if you haven't started yet, it's not too late. The month technically is not over. So you can pick it up and join in the conversation over in Discord and via the newsletter. I did want to share, because I completely forgot when scheduling this month, that PAX was happening this weekend. We won't be having the virtual sort of in-person Discord hangout because I will be on the show floor at a booth at the time, and also headed to meetings and all of that stuff. And so being at PAX means I will not be able to be there. But if you'd all like to just meet and voice chat anyways, feel free. But we can also continue the discussion in the Discord thread that's already set up. As always, for future games, everything you need to know, you can go to geeksandgrounds.com. Get going. But first, before we go into The Rootrees Are Dead, we're going to stop at the pastry case because we got a lot of things we're excited about beyond what we've been playing. Anna, you have lots of things going on soon. Can you tell us what you're stoked about right now?
I do. Well, first and foremost, I'm going to Japan in like a week. So that's taken up a lot of my time and trying to not stress travel before that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I am definitely quick notes on how I plan things. I am the kind of planner that literally once we decided that we were going, I have watched every single YouTube video. I have read so many articles, everything that I can consume about where we're going, I have. And this is how I prepare, but I'm still going to stress about it. And then once I get there, I have one plan. Literally, I don't like to plan a lot because I just like to let the wind take me, so to speak. So I know everything about where everything is and what there is. And then I'm like, let's see what happens. Maybe we'll just go for a walk and find something cool. So that's the kind of planner I am. I only plan for a couple of things that I'm I really, really want to do this, in Japan or on my vacations. And then for the past month, I've had stressed travel dreams, and I will continue to have those and be super stressed just about everything until I'm sitting on the plane. Once I sit on the plane, I'll be like, everything's easy. All right, it's vacation time. But that's just how I am.
Yeah, we have really similar sort of strategies to plan trips. I'm very I do the same thing where before a trip, I will be reading everything I can, watching everything I can, listening to everything I can, creating lists. I know you're also list spreadsheet person. Yep. And then, but once I get there, I'm actually very relaxed. I don't like having a super strict schedule when I travel somewhere. What my partner Sam and I have realized for us that it's the perfect strategy is similar to what you said, where we'll pick one thing to do that we really want to do each sort of day or every 2 days and have that be our anchor activity or anchor thing, and everything else around that we just kind of see what happens. And it's such a nice way to travel because you've locked in something really important, but then it leaves that room for the fun surprises that happen on trips.
And the one thing that like we locked in on was because we wanted to go on a very special train to one of the cities in the area in the prefecture that we're staying, and that always books up very quickly. So because we wanted to take the special train, we had to make sure that we had a reservation, and that's sort of like that's the one thing that I find sort of hard to plan for with Japan is because you have to have reservations for a lot of the things that you want to go to. And that's very like, I don't want to make a reservation. I just want to like show up and like do the thing, you know, if that's what I decide to do. So that's why we have the one big thing. And then like, obviously like all the buses and stuff that we're going to, the cities that we're going to are locked in. So yeah, I'm just excited because I'm also the person that cannot relax unless I'm on vacation. So this is like, I finally get to be like, I'm sitting in an onsen, let's relax.
That sounds so nice. Other than the train, the special train that you've booked, do you have anything that you're especially excited for? Because I know you've been to Japan before, so this is like coming at it from this is not your first time going. What are you most looking forward to?
Pokemon stuff. So when I went the first time, this was before I got re-obsessed with Pokemon cards. Like literally the weekend after, or like 2 weekends after, was PAX East, where my friend Katie got me re-hooked up with Pokemon because she was like, do you want to play Pokemon cards? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I remember standing in like one of the nerd shops and just looking at the cards and being like, oh, I have all those cards. Oh, such fun memories. And then I was like, oh, I can do this again. So I missed my opportunity to go like buy a ton of Japanese cards while I was there. So now I'm going to go do that. And of course, the Pokemon Center. I get to go hang out with one of my friends who's also a Pokemon content creator, Pokelids. He does a lot of content where he goes to find like the manhole covers that are all decorated with the Pokemon. So he does that. And we're going to go to a place called Team Rocket Island. So I'm very excited to
What is
dress
Team
up.
Rocket Island?
So Team Rocket Island, I was like, this is so nerdy, y'all.
I love it. I'm so excited.
In Japanese, Team Rocket, you know, they're Jesse and James in English. In Japanese, they're Kojiro and Musashi. And both of them are named after two famous samurai. And these two samurai had an epic battle. And the island that we're going to is where they had that battle. So in honor of Team Rocket, they have two Pokelids. One is like coughing and one is Ekans for Jesse and James's partner Pokemon, essentially.
Yeah.
So that's,
oh my gosh.
That's how
so
nerdy
cool.
I am.
I'm so excited to see like all the pictures and all the videos you create from that. That's going to be so cool. I will live vicariously through your trip.
I will definitely post so many things. And the other thing that I'm really looking forward to is eating Japanese pudding. Because I love it. It's so good. That was like one of the things that I tried the first time we went to Japan. And I was just like, this is amazing. So I want to do like, of course, I'm going to make a little bit of content while I'm there because Pokemon stuff, right? But it'll be very simple. But I'm like, what if I did pudding reviews? And it would just be me being like, this is great. Like every single pudding. It'd be, this is fantastic. I love it.
I mean, I have to admit, I am such a fan. Like, I love watching food reviews and like people eating food. I don't know. It's why like the mukbangs and all of those, they're so popular. There's something about seeing people just be like so satisfied when they eat something. So I vote yes, go for it.
Hell yeah, I will. And then I'm just excited to go do so many things that we didn't do last time, and also see friends, and also get to hang out with friends and explore Japan with friends. I feel like because last time I went with 6 other friends, and now I'm going with Ash and Jazz from Stumped as well. So it's like, for me, I feel like Japan is way more fun when you have friends to go with. Like, I would go by myself or maybe just with my partner, but at the same time, like, I want to be there and experience this with lots of people and have fun together.
That's so cool. Yeah, that sounds like a dream trip.
You'll have to come with us next time, Jenny.
Yes. Oh my gosh, please. I'm trying to figure out the next time I couldn't go visit. I've only been the one time, and it was super fast because Sam didn't have very much time off. And we originally wanted to go for 2 weeks, but his time off got taken
Yeah.
up. So we only got 1 week, and it was not nearly enough. Oh my
No,
goodness.
you're due for a 2 week vacation. So, and I'm already starting to plan another trip as soon as we get back for for with other friends that want to go. So,
Oh my
listen,
gosh. There
I
we
will reach
go.
out
I
to
can like
you.
hop in and
Yeah,
join that.
yeah, you can.
We both got the chance to take a little bit of a virtual sort of hike, I guess. Big
Yeah.
walk, you could
Maybe
call
maybe
it.
a little walk
Maybe a
in
little walk
a
in a
little
big
walk for the game
space.
Big Walk.
Yes. You got to play it just today, and
Yes.
I'm so excited and eager to hear your impressions of the game.
It's literally one of those games that after playing, like I didn't want to stop. I literally just wanted to be like, can we play another hour? You know, I was having so much fun. Just being able to play in the world. Like I already knew it was going to be for sure my type of game because it's a lot of puzzle, it's a lot of exploration, and I just love those type of games. So for me,
Yeah.
I was just ready to dive right in. But getting to play with Ash and Jazz today was so much fun. Of like, this is how it's gonna go when we actually play it and record. I was like, please let this be a series that we actually finish because I love it so much. It was just, you know, you really connect with a game when you're just like, I don't want to put it down. Like I want to keep going, which we'll talk about with Roottrees as well. That was another game where I was like, can we continue, please?
Right.
But yeah, so I'm very excited to play the whole thing when it comes out and to play it with Ash and Jazz and as many people as I can to just have so much fun because it's like it's got like that silly sort of exploration and you can just do your own thing. So you don't necessarily have to like there is no set path per se because you're just like dropped off on this area and this island to go explore and figure out what you can figure out. So I'm just excited to see like what other people do, like what is there, like what do they find first versus do they find everything versus like I was chatting with one of the people at Panic of like it feels very Blueprints in the same era of like so many people are going to do different things like while playing their game, so it's like almost a whole new experience watching someone else play it versus what you did. And
Yeah.
I love when games are like that because then you learn something maybe about the game that you didn't learn before or just seeing like other people's brains work in puzzle games.
Yeah, we had a really good time. So did you have three folks playing as
We
you were
had
doing?
three, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we had four. I love that the game will scale. And I guess to describe it, because also in case someone hadn't heard of Big Walk, basically, like you said, it's a puzzle focused, exploration focused game where you and your friends can basically go into a world and you are open to do what you want. There are puzzles for you to solve if you'd like. Or you could just hang out. And what I love is that for me, I love the Blueprints comparison because it is like every person is going to approach it a little bit differently. Every group that you're with, even if you've played before, will maybe approach it a little differently. I likened it to Breath of the Wild because I very much was like, when you enter sort of into the main area of the game and the world opens up in front of you, you see structures in the distance. And immediately my brain was like, okay, we should go there. And eventually we're going to go there. And then we're going to hit that. And it's very much like chase your curiosity with your friends. And so it's like the joy of Breath of the Wild exploration and then puzzle solving, which I guess, those are the shrines. Is that what they were called in Breath of the Wild?
I don't know. I never
remember.
played Breath of the Wild.
Whatever the shrines were, or challenges. It's like very much like that, where it's like you have a place that you can go, but of course you're going to have a fun journey there. And then when you're there, you have a specific goal that you can like aim towards with other folks. And yeah, I adored the game. We had a moment where we were exploring and walking around like the shore.
Yeah.
And there was a sort of like area with rocks, and then music started playing, and all of us, it was me, Josh Boykin of IntelliGame, Mary of Twitch, and Khalif of Spawn on Me. We all were like we didn't even talk about doing it. We were just like stopped and just listened to the music for a little bit. And then we all just sat and watched the sunrise in the game because there's this sort of dynamic, day night cycle
Yeah.
that doesn't, as far as I know, it may affect puzzles later, but in our playthrough, it didn't affect puzzles or anything. It was
Yeah.
just a cool mood builder. And it was so nice because we had these like really intense puzzles that we worked on together, but then we also could just like sit
Chill.
and we chilled and we talked about how nice it was to like hang out and play games because we don't do that often enough, So
Yeah.
it was really fun.
Oh, we also found the three. Well, for us, it was like three spots to go watch the ocean, and we
Yeah.
did the same thing. But we didn't even think about like waiting for the sunset or the sunrise. I was like, that's so cute. Once again, like just playing the demo, like Jenny and I've already done different things, and I'm just very excited to play more because it's so fun. It's just like one of those games that you're just smiling the whole time while playing.
And shout out to the team because it's like you need a minimum of 2 people, but the game it scales up to I think about 4 people, but you can include up to 12 in your group to like hang out and do the puzzles together. So that's also something I have not seen done like super effectively is like getting 12 people, maybe Among Us is like the closest otherwise. But I also, to your point about being able to finish it, the nice thing is that there is an end. It's not like an eternal game.
Yep.
And so I'm hoping you all can finish it too.
Yeah. Yeah. I am also very interested in the story, like the narrative aspect, because, and I don't know what we can say, like in regards to the demo.
I think I was told just we can share our impressions, whatever we'd like. So yeah, I think we're okay.
I am going as a horror fan. I'm going like this is survival horror. Like there's gotta be the like creepiest ending because one of the things in the puzzles that you find is this little object that you have to put into another thing to unlock it. So it's used as basically a key. And that shape is the shape of our heads. And I was like, we were joking. And I was like, are these the previous adventures? Is this Josh and Jenny and Marion Khalif? Like, are these their heads that we're putting on these pedestals? I was like, what is going on?
Funny.
I was like, there is something sinister happening on this island and I'm going to get to the bottom of it.
That's so funny. We had like some jokes because when we started playing, we were like, oh my gosh, because night was falling. And we're like, oh no, like things look scary. It's nighttime. But at least as far as the preview went, there was like nothing and nothing in the marketing so far is just saying that this is like at all a horror game. Just to put it out there for folks who might be scared. Yeah.
No, this is me and my theory crafting.
Yes, I know. I forget I think we called it Billium. We like the gourd things that you find.
Oh yeah.
We did not overtly make the connection to someone's head, but we called those like objects. We were like, we found a billium. I don't know where we came up with that. It was funny because the devs were like, we call them gourds. So it's like that's another example, like you said, where it's like everyone's got a different name for this thing. They've got different lore for this thing. So it's neat to see the ways that everyone's constructing their own like individual narratives and meaning in this world.
Yeah, it seemed like we were one of the first people to make the comparison because literally when we walked up to that puzzle and it had like the indentation, all of us tried putting our heads in there because we're like, this is the shape of our heads.
So
Do we just
funny.
like put our heads in there? And it wasn't working. And I was like, I guess we gotta go find something. But yeah, so me and my creative narrative building, I'm just like,
that.
I need to know what is happening on this island. Very like Mist, right? Like something's happening.
There's definitely something.
So I'm just like, I gotta find out the answers.
Yes. And there isn't a release date. So for folks who are interested in like staying in the loop about Big Walk, I would say wishlist the game on Steam. That's like the best way to stay in the loop on most any game at this point. But hopefully we'll get some news. It says it's going to be coming out this year. So I just with my marketing brain, knowing that previews are happening, like early press and creator previews, I'm like, okay, can't be that long. I don't think we're
Don't
too
make
far
us
off.
wait, please.
Yeah, this
please
is also
panic.
wishful thinking.
Yeah, and it was just it was such a cool experience to get to play together in the same room with all like the visual effects that they had really put in for just like playing the demo. Like they went beyond what I think most, especially like going to conventions, right? Like most conventions don't have the ability to put on this whole surround like theater
ambiance.
Yeah. And that was just such a special experience. And I was like, I wish more people could experience this, but also I understand like you can't do this on the show floor at PAX. Like that's impossible.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just really cool to get to see, and like knowing that like my friends had already done this too. So I kept like thinking about you all and like, I wonder what they did and stuff like that. So I hope that like all 8 of us can get together and play.
We should do a Portland crew.
Yeah.
Like in Big Walk. Yeah, we had so much fun, and it was also just so special because I'm like, we're getting all these Portland creators playing it. This is published, the House is in Australia, but the publisher Panic is based in Portland, and yeah, it's just like a little moment of sort of local pride.
Yeah.
I think, which is really cool.
Definitely, yeah. And now I'm like, I just want to go back. Like that's all I can think about is like going back and playing more. So yeah, everyone should definitely check it out and see if like it's your type of game, or if you're even interested, or if you just need a game to play with a friend or a partner.
Did you want to chat about Palia? Because that's
my gosh,
what
yeah,
you're excited about too.
So if you know me, you know that my obsession with Palia is, it is an obsession. Like it is, it is healthy. Don't worry, but it is one of those games that I have just fallen in love with over the past year and a half. Again, we played originally like when it first came out, and they've made a lot of quality of life changes since then. And short story, my dad passed in fall of 2004, and so of course like I had a lot of grief, and I wanted something to be able to just sort of like not run away, but like focus on, that wasn't me being sad all the time. And so I invested time back in Palia because I had a lot of friends who were Palia partners and who have also I just watched them play, and I was like, oh, this seems like a fun game that I'm like, I should get back into eventually. And now was the time, because I was really curious about the world and all the fun like crafting and like farming that you can do now, or like planting. There's so many fun things to do in that game. So I just went in and I was eating up all the characters, the lore, like the story, just all the fun things that you can do. Is very like cozy in the sense of you can do things at your own pace. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to engage with the story if you don't want to. If you just want to like make a cool house, you can do that. You can just, if you just want to collect minerals or chop down trees the whole time, you can do that. So in that regard, I was able to focus my energy on something productive, and be able to also like process my grief at the same time. So Palia became very, 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 very special to me. It still is very special. And they just had a new update, like I think a week ago or something. Yay. And so I've been so excited. We finally got a toilet that we can make, which it seems like ridiculous to talk about.
Amazing.
But before you could only buy toilets from this like underground market. And so being able to like actually craft your own toilet is huge.
It's a major shift. That's so funny. Wait, is this purely for decoration, or does your character actually need to use bathroom every once in a while, like the Sims?
For decoration. Like you can sit on the toilet if you want, and you can like open the lid so it's interactive, but it's not like Sims where you have to. There's no like.
That's so funny.
There's no stress to be like, you have to finish this within a certain amount of time, or you have like meters. The only meter that is maybe could be stressful is when you eat food, you get extra experience. So that extra experience meter, if that is filled, you grant more experience. If it's empty, you still get experience. You're just not like getting the bonus of it, you know?
Right.
But that's the only thing. If you want to pay, you don't even have to pay attention to it if you don't want to.
That's so cool. Paleo is one of those games where I'm like, I would love to. I almost hopped in actually, but I had a character that I made like way back in the day before they even had like a public beta, because I was getting to play some based on another job I had, and I made my account with the email from that job, which I don't have access to anymore.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I have locked myself out. There is a character named Kimchica that technically exists in that world that I cannot access anymore. And I was going to make a new character and play with you.
Yeah, I remember.
And I was so sad because I went in and did it, and I can't get the name Kimchica anymore. And I was like, this is honestly ruining my enjoyment of the game enough that I don't want to play right now. Oh my gosh.
But they just opened up applications like today for partners. So if you're a content creator and you really like Palia and you're like, I would love to be a Palia partner, go check it out. It should be up on their website. It's also in their Discord if you're in their like community Discord. So I just applied right before we had we're having our meeting in our chat.
Congratulations.
So hopefully if I'm able to get a partner, maybe I can get Kimchica back for you. Yeah.
I'm like, which the support team was so kind and so nice, because they were just like, I mean, we can't mess with the character because obviously this is like not secure to do that, you know? And I'm like, that totally makes sense. Thank you. They tried every avenue they could, I think. But yeah, that was very sweet. And I think I just need to suck it up and like have numbers behind my name, which that's okay.
Or you could come up with a new OC. Jenny,
that's true.
Now's your time for a new OC.
True.
It's okay.
Oh my gosh. That's a big step. That's a huge step I have to take.
I know. I feel the same way of if you've ever played like another MMO where you have like a secondary like mule character or you know somebody that's just there to hold your stuff. Like
it's so weird. Like
you could use that.
That's true. Oh my gosh. I'll have to think about it. But yeah, I do eventually want to properly hop into Palia because it's one of those games that I think I would actually very much love. Even in the rough state, I played it way back like years ago.
Yeah.
I loved it. And I've seen through like your content and through like YouTube and everything, it has grown so much, but it also, I fear it. I fear the amount of time that I will dedicate to that game if I properly get into it.
You will. And I'll be right there though to help you. I'll be like,
Perfect.
Let's go fishing, Jenny, for an hour or something. Yeah. I'll be right there to help.
One thing I know we both have been super into still is Pacopia.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm still only in the third area.
I haven't even got to my third area, Jenny. So
really,
I'm still stuck in area 2.
I don't feel so bad anymore. I'm like, everyone's like already done with the game. I don't know how. I could not for myself push that quickly through the game.
No, I'm the same way.
Oh, it's so good. So I just wanted to update. I know folks have already heard us talking about Pacopia because we did last time, but I just want to highlight for me, that game is still like number 1 in my heart. Game of the year contender for sure.
Yeah, it's so good. Like it's been so much fun. And then because Jenny and I got to play together, one of Jenny's Pokemon actually came to visit me, and I was like, they were like, "Are you're Kimchica's friend? I came to visit you," and I was like, "Oh my God!" It's just so sweet when that happens.
Sweet. I know. I haven't gotten any visitors from you or Jazzy's Pokemon like islands yet.
My Pokemon are being rude to you. I'm sorry. Well, we'll just have to play more.
Yes.
And then hopefully that will happen.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was so much fun. I highly recommend if any of you, for any game, honestly, go with your friends to a cute cafe, buy some snacks, and just play games together.
Yes. So fun. So fun.
I wanted to shout out, I binge watched a show this weekend.
Oh,
called
show.
Jury Duty. Doesn't sound exciting, but if you love sort of mockumentaries, if you enjoy sort of the tongue-in-cheek and like a light little fun prank, this is the show for you.
Oh, Ryan was just telling me about this show. The one where like they have actors?
Yes, everyone's an actor except for one person, and they are all acting out a court case. They're all acting out that they're jurors in the jury duty, and the person who's eventually, you know, this is not really a spoiler because it's pretty apparent it's going to happen. Yeah. But the guy who they brought in as the like sort of the person being pranked, I guess, he is basically said, and told to be the foreman of the jury. So he's kind of in charge of wrangling the jurors. And so that's why that's like kind of the premise they give to put him in these decision-making points, and like why the judge is like, you need to make sure everyone's doing a good job, you know, with this case.
Yeah.
And everyone's got these characters that they're playing. It's very like office adjacent in that, you know, you've got a guy who's like really into technology and like what is it, cybernetics, I think, like infusing technology with his life. And he has like, in the trailer they show he's got crutches that he's attached to his butt so that he can lean on it like a chair, and he tries to bring that into the courtroom, and that causes a scene, and the judge is like, foreman of the jury, you gotta handle this, you know. And what I love the most is that this show is it's an elaborate prank, but at the end of the day, no one's like really hurt. I was a little bit worried because I'm like, what if this guy gets so devastated to find out a week in his life was Truman showed?
That's what I kept when Ryan was explaining the plot. I was like, I would be so upset that everyone was in on this prank, but me. I would be like, we're done here.
I will say he is genuinely like. He is like the kindest person I think I have seen on a reality, because this is ostensibly a reality show. He is so kind and so sweet. You cannot help but root for him and cheer him on. And all of the characters are done so well. And the one thing that helped me, and this I guess maybe is a slight spoiler, but just for mental sake, after he found out, apparently he's still friends with the folks that he met on the show.
Aww,
he's like,
that's sweet.
Like, it turned out okay. So he did not suffer.
Yes, no, that does.
So if that helps you enjoy the show better, just know that he seemed to be okay with it and did not suffer. And everyone was super kind. And it was just such a wholesome prank.
I love that because Ryan was saying it's like Australian. Is it?
I think it's an Australian team, but the show is set in LA.
Oh, okay. So I guess my understanding is it multiple episodes of one experience of jury duty versus like when Ryan was explaining it to me, I thought it was like multiple different people, so everything would be different episodes.
No, it's so they actually have a second season now that's got a slightly different situation that the person's put in, but the first season is all one court case. One person. The same person over the span of, I think they say it's a week.
Okay.
Which is such a long time.
That is so long. How do they find these people too? Like, I feel like I don't have time. Like every time I get called for jury duty, I'm like, I have 3 jobs. Like I can't afford to not go to 3 of my, like all my jobs, you know?
Yeah, I think they mentioned it a little bit. There's like a behind the scenes thing that they talk about the process a little at the end. And they put out a call for people who are interested in both participating in jury duty, like voluntarily doing jury duty, because they were given like unprecedented access to a court case. So they're filming a documentary about what jury duty is like. And so I think that's how they got around some of the permissions to record people without their like overt consent,
yeah.
And how they can explain to the person like, oh, we're going to have this documentary crew following around and asking you questions, because it's all about what is jury duty like, but really it's about how does this guy respond to increasingly absurd situations that he gets put in. And it was just such a fun watch. It was really good. They have a second season. I haven't started it yet, but the core premise is the same. Everyone's an actor except for one person who gets put into outlandish situations. But instead of jury duty, it's about a company retreat, which I think it's not as strong of a premise. I think jury duty is great because it's more of a black box. Like people don't necessarily know what goes on when you're in a court case.
Yeah.
I feel like there's less potential for HR violations, like overt HR stuff. And also, the smart thing about jury duty is, like, they said, oh, we have to take everyone's phones because you're sequestered for the court case.
Yeah.
And so it's like it creates this bubble that I think is so effective that a company retreat doesn't quite hit. But maybe it's good. I haven't watched it yet.
Maybe it's the same thing, because I do feel like with a company retreat, you have a lot of, like, avenues for that kind of stuff of like, we're going on a company retreat, but we're really gonna like unwind and like focus
Yeah.
on us, and so no phones, or like camping.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it'll be
that's true.
curious to see how you enjoy that one and if it lives
Hmm.
up to the other one. And that now I'm just like, now I'm curious because two people have recommended it to me in less than 24 hours. So
That's so funny. Oh my gosh, just something in the water.
yeah.
But yeah, we binge watched it this weekend and it was great.
Okay.
We laughed the whole time. It's just very, very funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then for folks who enjoy BTS or just K-pop in general, BTS came out with their comeback album. It's called Arirang, and I was quite excited for it. It's not without its controversies, I would say. There is a lot discussed about they put out an animation ahead of the album, and the biggest critique, which I think is super valid, and I cannot believe this was overlooked and or just sort of pushed aside as feedback, is the animation premise is about the 7 men who came to Howard University, which is a historically black university. And these Korean men, they sang Arirang, which is like kind of the national folk song of Korea, for the first time in the US at this university. Again, predominantly black. In the animation, the audience for these 7 Korean men were predominantly white. There were some
Okay.
black people in the animation, but not all. And so the very valid feedback that folks
Yeah.
gave was, hey, as a historically black university, this animation is incorrect because
Yeah.
this is not what it looked like at the time. And so that's been like a source of controversy for the album, or a source of like, I don't know, controversy is a big word, but definitely like feedback and discussion among the fandom, which K-pop fandom can get really toxic. So
Yeah.
yeah, unfortunately. But the album itself and the comeback show I thought was really solid. It goes back to, it definitely draws from their debut, which is for hip hop focused. But it is advanced from that. I think it's slightly better than their debut albums. I personally like it better than the Butter and Dynamite era, because to me
Okay.
that was a bit too poppy.
Yeah.
But I would say for me as an album, I'd give it like a B minus maybe, which I think
Okay.
is a pretty solid one. Like the
Yeah,
more I
it's not
listen to it,
bad.
the more I appreciate it. The other feedback I've been hearing is Arirang is like a cultural touch point in Korea. And a lot of the marketing talked about how this is the album that the group was going to go to, like back to their roots. And I don't know if in the marketing they said explicitly cultural roots or just like their personal roots in
Yeah.
terms of what they love in music.
Or the
The
Roottrees.
or the Roottree. But I think a lot of the feedback also is how, quote, Korean is this album, when a decent amount of the
Yeah.
tracks are in English still, which I was a little bit sad about, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
The genre of music is like hip hop, a little bit of
Yeah.
EDM,
But
which
like
is
first
black.
generation, yeah, first generation K-pop took a lot from black music,
Yes.
right? So
Almost
like
entirely.
yeah. So like I'm like, yeah, it's an interesting
Yeah.
interesting concept of like going back to like Gen 1 K-pop, when it's like, but Gen 1 K-pop also just took a lot from other people.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, there's a lot of like critique and feedback on that within the whole K-pop community, I
Right.
think. But I think that is probably my biggest critique of the album, is I personally wish that it drew a bit more, at least overtly, from like Korean traditional music, although there is actually a pretty decent amount of inspiration from Korean traditional music and not just in the first track. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's still a pretty solid album. It's a pretty solid comeback. I am excited. My favorite tracks are all in like the second half of the album, and they have their final track called Into the Sun gets kind of weird in a good way. And so I had a good time listening to it, and honestly, it was just a lot of nostalgia for me to also see the boys on stage dancing and having a good time again. So that was really cool. But yeah, so I think it's absolutely worth a listen. I think highlights for me, the first track, definitely listen. The ending has an incredible segue from the like sort of more hip hoppy beats into traditional pansori and then the arirang song, which like the way it fuses the two genres is just like, oh my God, I got chills when I heard it the first time. My other favorite song is called Aliens, which I think has a lot of Korean undertones in terms of the musical structure and what they did there. And then the last track, which is a weirdo track, but it's so good. It's called Into the Sun, and it's beautiful.
I can't wait to listen to it because I haven't heard any of the new songs. So
yeah, it's very different. But you're familiar with their earlier stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it'll feel less different to you. I think a lot of people also got whiplash because it's like not Butter or Dynamite.
But I feel the same way about Butter and Dynamite. Like I'm like, they're okay, catchy songs, but I was like, but like Blood, Sweat, and Tears is like my go-to, you know?
Yeah.
For like
it doesn't
BTS.
see, and it doesn't hit like that level of BTS. Like the 2018 BTS for me is still like peak personally. And we had like, yeah, I think they had, I would love for them to lyrically get a bit more, I wanted them to get to their roots lyrically because they have a lot of songs that really talk about really relevant current issues and how it impacts them. And this for me feels like they're just happy to be back performing. They're excited. This felt very personal, but it didn't like sort of speak to the things I was kind of hoping they would speak to.
Right.
But I don't think it did a bad job. If that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
I think it's worth a listen.
I'm also curious now that you're talking about it too, of like going back to like older K-pop as well, because like I mentioned, I've listened to K-pop since Gen 1, since high school. So like 15 years of K-pop. So I'm very curious to see like how far back in terms of like K-pop that goes, or if it's just like their like their era of K-pop, earlier K-pop stuff. So now I'm very curious. Now I want to listen to it. So
yeah, and it definitely feels more modern than the like Gen 1 stuff. They definitely have grown. I think you can tell that they've grown as individual artists, but it's interesting because there is a lot of discussion right now in the K-pop community about like the question of, is K-pop a genre or is it a system? And I think that is a really good question.
That's a good question, yeah.
When I heard it, I was like, actually, it might be a system.
Yeah.
Like I can see that being more accurate to what it is, because musically it has almost always drawn from Black music, whether it's hip hop or like different ballad, the girl group format. So yeah, but that's a whole different.
We could do a whole conversation. We could do a whole stream
multiple
on that,
podcasts on that. But I think as a fan of theirs, knowing the critiques, I do think it was a fun album to listen to overall.
Well, I mean, and like I also feel like with anything you love or anything that you're really like proud of or you know really enjoy, a good critique of it is totally fine, because I feel like media literacy is so it's gone for most people now. But like being able to be like, I like this. These are some critiques, but that doesn't mean that I don't like it. I still like it, you know? So
well, and it, like I will say, just as a point of pride in terms of the fact that like this is one of the first times that Korea is on the global stage and the like to celebrate like seeing people say arirang and know what it is mind-boggling to me. To hear people singing it, to hear people like talking about just like the fact that they had this in Korea and like people got to see the architecture and the fact that, you know, they performed at one of the most famous, you know, gates in Korea, in one of the most famous stretches of road, essentially. There's a track on the album, which I get thematically what it means. I think it's a little funny, but they just have a track that's like this bell that sort of rings, and then the whole track is just the fade out of that ring of the gong of the bell. And it's a really cool, like, artistic choice and thematic thing to do. But like, people know what this bell is now from Korea, you know. And so it's like really neat to see the ways that like that pride in being Korean is happening, because for a lot of Koreans' history, I feel like that pride is there, but they acknowledge that nobody knows about Korea, or there's this like sense like, oh, we're proud of being Korean, but like we're not like globally recognized. Like when talking to my family members, like my aunt, that was like always kind of the vibe they would give me, and they would talk about it actually explicitly. So it's just really like between that and then the golden winning an Oscar or Grammy or whatever it won the other weekend. It's a very cool moment to like celebrate Korea.
Yay.
But yeah, I think that is it for what we're excited about. We got really excited. That was a long one. Sorry to take up so much of your time on that instead of Roottrees. But
no, it's fine.
I think we had big cool things that we were excited about. So let's head into this month's Brew, The Roottrees Are Dead. We'll start off with some non-spoilery discussion, just in case someone hasn't played it yet, and this is like the last bit. So as a reminder, and could you give us like the elevator pitch for The Roottrees Are Dead non-spoiler edition?
Yeah. Do you want me to read the thing off of Steam as well again, or?
No, I think just sort of however you would summarize it.
Okay. Well, like we had mentioned before, it is a detective-y genealogical game where you start in your house, in your favorite detective room, and you get a mysterious knock on the door, and someone is like, I want you to find out the history of the Roottrees, because some famous Roottrees just passed away, and there's talk of the inheritance and who's going to get it after these Roottrees have passed. And so it's your job to find out who's going to get it. And it's a huge journey of searching through like us millennials will say of like the olden internet times. So you're using an internet browser, you're using library, you're using newspapers to find out more stories of this family, and sleuthing that way and uncovering secrets that have been hidden within the family.
Yeah. Perfect elevator pitch. So we're going to go through just kind of talking about impressions of like the different sort of elements that you'd hear about probably in a normal review, like mechanics, audio, visuals, etc. With the mechanics, like you said, there's the internet searching, which was so fun and nostalgic. Oh my gosh, I loved it. I think this was part of an update, because I saw some comments on Steam. I think it was Steam in the community area, where it was talking about how the note taking was like sort of expanded. Did you play it prior to that, or?
I didn't, but if you remember me talking about it in the previous, Fawn played it before they did the quality of life update, and they were like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" Because before they didn't have a note taking thing, and they added it in when I played it, and it's great. It's super helpful.
Yeah. Normally I have a journal that I keep with me for games like this. I found it to be so helpful just to be able to, as you're going through your internet searches, highlight, copy and paste things into the notes, be able to type things really quickly. It took me a little bit to figure out the organization system that I wanted. Because, oh my God, the first maybe third of the game, it was like stream of consciousness notes.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I was like, this is really becoming so unsustainable. But eventually coming up with a system, I find that so fun. And Yeah, I think they did an incredible job with like infusing what it's like to take notes, but digitally, which was really cool.
Yeah, any games that give you a note-taking system is very helpful when you're doing puzzle solving. Like ours was like literally like stream of conscious for the whole thing. If we
Hmm.
found like a proper noun, if there was a name, a place, something,
Yes.
I just went in the note taking. I was like, we'll come back to that later.
Eventually, I created pages because, yeah, I have one page that was stream of consciousness. And then I started creating pages for, you had like the different tiers of family, essentially, of each generation.
That's so smart.
And so I created a page for each generation to try and keep it organized. It still was
So
a bit of a
smart.
mess, but yeah, God, so much fun. I loved also mechanically, you are given not just text documents to look through, but you have photographic evidence, which the game does such a great job of making things just like easy to find.
Yes.
And this kind of blends in with like the visuals in terms of UI UX, but like when you're given a photograph, you click on the face, it takes a snapshot so that when
Yep.
you go into the family tree, the big cork board, with the strings and everything, you can quickly just like look at the photos and see which ones you have and then put it, where you need to put it. I loved that also, once you have properly used any of the clues, any of the evidence or photos, it removes it so you don't have to like constantly remember which ones that
Yeah.
you used or had. Oh, so nice.
And in along the lines of that too, of like the checkpoint system where like once you got like 5 characters correctly, because for those of you that haven't played it, there's a huge, like Jenny was saying, a cork board of like you have to find who this person is, so their picture, their job, and then what's underneath it. It's like
Yeah, their name, their picture, and their occupation.
yes, names. That was the other one. But like once you get a certain amount of characters locked in, it's almost like the progression of the story then happens of like what's going on between you and this mysterious person that shows up at your door. But you don't have to worry if like those are locked in, so there's no question as to like who those people are anymore. So you don't even have to worry about like solving that whole aspect, and that's
Yeah.
really helpful when you're dealing with, I don't know, 30 plus characters in a game.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think the final total, including the spouses, which technically aren't required, but like I was trying to go for
Oh
it.
yeah, you have to 100% that game.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it ends up being like 50
Wow.
members, which
Okay,
is kind of wild. Maybe 50 or 60, something like that. I should probably have written this down somewhere. But yeah, I think we played Oberdin last year for Geeks and Grounds, and I will
That's
have
on
to
my list.
say, oh, it's so good. The sound when like you lock in your 3 people and like the jazz fades.
Yes.
And the like doom 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 music comes up where you're like, oh my God, I got goosebumps just now even thinking about it because like you got it right and
Yeah.
you just feel so good. That
Yes.
is so Pavlovian for me now because Oberdin does almost it feels like the exact same sound even.
Interesting.
And so it was so funny because I loved that in Oberdin. They do it here. So it just like that gives me the like good fireworks in my brain.
You're
that are
like,
just
yes,
so
I'm
satisfying.
so smart.
Feel like a genius when it
Yeah.
happens.
I love when you also have like not only do you get like a visual representation of your success, but anything to add to any more of the senses just makes it that much better.
Another mechanic that I loved that I did not expect, where there were some additional things like the slidey puzzles.
Yeah.
That kind of remind me of the Captcha, what is it called? Where it's like you have to nowadays it's like you have to click the right pictures or something.
Captcha, yeah.
Yeah, Captcha. I don't know what was I saying. But it's like in some cases you get like photographs that are, I don't know, encrypted or scrambled, like I think one of them, the first one you get is like there's an art project and they mess with the picture.
Yeah.
And you like unscramble it. So satisfying. And that was like a delightful, like, oh, we're doing something a little different right now. And this is
Yeah,
kind of unexpected and cool.
It's nice that they take the same element of finding pictures, but now it's slightly different. So it keeps it very fresh while you're playing, a 12-hour game. You still get to go experience new things, and it's not like as repetitive, as you would think.
Yep. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about in terms of just like the mechanics and what you're doing in the game? Anything you wanted to highlight or
Yeah,
feel like you had it?
one thing that like made me happy when just doing the mechanics is it made me think of going to the library when I was a kid.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Because when we were kids, you could actually go, I can't even remember the name of what it's called, but where it goes through all the past periodicals. What is that machine? I will not remember the name of it, but you
Yeah.
can basically pull up a year and a certain like magazine or a newspaper article, and you could search through all of the articles that were ever written in that year on that newspaper. And I was
Yeah.
like, I remember having to learn how to use this as a kid, like in 8th grade at our library. I was like, no one does that anymore. I don't even think those machines exist anymore,
Yeah.
because everything's on the internet.
Yeah. If they are, it's like special archive like
Yeah.
treasure, you know? I just looked it up because I was like, what are those microfilm readers
yes,
or
thank you.
microfiche? Yeah. Yeah, I remember those too. And it was like we had like a whole like couple of class sessions where we had to practice
Yep.
using them.
We had to like use one for a report or something. Yeah, so it was like it was fun to get to remember that stuff from childhood or like the early internet days, and hopefully get to like have newer generations and younger people that are playing this be able to enjoy those things and understand like this is how you got information back in the 90s,
Yeah. Well, and like even there's like the periodicals where you get access to different journals essentially or different periodicals. And like it reminded me, even just being back in like, yeah, high school, college, going on to something like JSTOR, which was what we used for looking up articles. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's a branded thing probably, but it's called JSTOR when I was younger. And like looking at specific journals for the specific words and authors and names, and it was just so nostalgic and in the best ways. And
Yeah.
it kind of made me like I wanted to, after playing this game, research more things, which I know nothing's stopping me. I could
Yeah.
also just research more things that I'm interested in. But it was just so fun to be able to sort of role play and then actually feel that like sense of inspiration and when you're like, ooh, let me type in this thing because this might actually lead to something that might help. Although it is different where I feel like normally when you do a family tree, you do not have the answer. Like you don't have
No.
the tree. So
Yeah.
this is like easy mode technically,
Yeah.
but
Well, and we don't have to go back and use the microfilms. Like I would hate like
exactly.
I don't want to ever use that machine again in real life, but like it was fun to be like, "Oh, yes, I remember that." I'm glad
Right.
that we have evolved since then in terms of like
Exactly.
archival of information.
Yeah. As far as the, let's actually do visuals and then we'll do audio because visuals is kind of in with, we've already been talking about the UI.
Yep.
I found it super intuitive. The visuals, I loved, I think last episode you talked about it as like the Boxcar Children, Nancy Drew,
Yes.
Sweet Valley High. Like it has that kind of feel to it. And the more I played, the more I was like, yeah, yep, it does.
Yeah,
Which I thought was really fun.
Yeah, I like that the art style mirrors what we saw in our books in the 90s too, growing up of like, yes, this feels very nostalgic to me for this kind of artwork.
Yeah, I was not expecting that, so I love that you shouted that out last time because it definitely tracked. As far as the audio goes, I was really pleasantly surprised at how much I love the soundtrack. I was not expecting to enjoy it. I do love a good saxophone, I have to say, and that is predominantly that is like the hero instrument of this
Yeah.
OST. But there are some really good just chill tracks. And at the start of the show, I talked about investigative jazz. I forget what they called it. But that is a category that I absolutely would listen to if we had a radio station truly dedicated to investigatory. That is such a hard word for me to
It is.
say. Investigative jazz, I think, is actually what it is. But I guess we have the soundtrack, so I'm just going to be listening to that.
Or
maybe
it's
on my
like
trip.
for for like streamers, you know, epidemic sounds or music.
Yeah.
You're like going up, you're like, what kind of mood do you want? I was like, I want investigative, and then jazz. And then it like gives you a playlist. Like this is what we
Yeah.
found for you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, yeah, I thought the soundtrack was surprisingly good for what I was not anticipating enjoying the soundtrack. I wanted to shout out Rolling On Down to the City because that is stuck in my head currently.
Oh my
It
gosh. I
is
have to go
so
re-listen
bad.
to it because like
Yeah.
I also do like that uh when you found these sort of musical pieces with the musical characters that it
Hmm.
gave you clips of the actual music. Like that was so like I didn't
Yes.
expect that. And I was like, "Oh,
Yes.
we get to listen to the actual song. Okay."
Yeah. And yeah, I was really impressed. There was one song though that I don't think I found, and I don't know if maybe it's just a
Mm.
secret. It's the beef one. Do you
Beef?
remember?
Hold on. I got now I'm looking this up.
Yeah, there was like a mention of a song. It was for, I think it was Candy Rootrees band. But she, Candy said I didn't want to be known as a Rootree
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
didn't want my, but there was a song, I think it was called like it was beef something. I should have written it down. I did not for
Interesting.
whatever reason, but they had a blurb about it and it was like this was one of their songs and I never found the audio track. So,
And it exists though? Oh, Beef Baby.
Beef Baby, yes.
I'm gonna
I
go. I'm gonna
I
watch.
don't
I'm gonna
know.
find this on the internet after. I'm gonna do my own sleuthing to find this song and listen to
Right.
it.
If it exists, please find it. I don't know if it does. I couldn't find it in the game. But I was so intrigued because I was like, Beef Baby,
Like, what is this
what is
about?
that? But yeah, so the audio was a pleasant surprise for me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I guess any other sort of overview elements that you wanted to talk about before we get into like the true nitty-gritty spoiler stuff.
No, I feel like the game, like we've been saying, it does a really good job of harkening back to that 90s feel with
Hmm.
it still being updated and not 90s controls, right? Like the
Right.
UI is very modern, which is great because the UI in the 90s was not great for video games. So I do like it that it has that feel, but in a more contemporary way
Hmm.
to actually play the game.
Yeah. Yeah. It felt really good to play. Very
Yeah.
satisfying.
It was very easy to like understand everything in terms of what we needed to do and like
Hmm.
how to do things. So yeah, I just enjoyed that whole
Yeah.
aspect.
If you had to recommend this game to a type of person, what kind of person would you recommend this game to?
Oh, anybody that likes puzzles. If you are a
Hmm.
puzzle game person or you like just messy drama, like if
Hmm.
you just love the drama, then I would
Yeah.
recommend this game to you.
Yes. I also plus one to all of that. I feel like if you are also a standardized test taker, back in the day, if you okay, bear with
I'm
me.
going with you on this.
If you and for language arts, for English in standardized tests, you know how you get the portion that you're supposed to read, and then like you're basically taught in school how to highlight like the words
Oh, the
that
reading
help give you the
comprehension.
yeah, just reading
Yeah.
comprehension. But like if you enjoyed that element of test taking where you're like, I love reading things and figuring out what the most important piece of information is
Mm-hmm.
and getting the right answer. This is like for anyone who loved taking tests like that. Which I am a little embarrassed to say I love taking those tests because I'm a really good skimmer. I'm really good at sort of like being able to quickly identify pieces of information in writing that I need to use. Like that is just a skill I have. And so this for me was like, oh my God, this is my dream. I read and I pull out information and it tells me and I literally get gold stars.
Yep.
Sign me up. This is perfect.
I feel like I am not that person in terms of test taking.
Yeah.
My ADHD is like I was so bad at those type of tests. Just I was
Yeah.
bad at test taking in general at that time. But like for me, I really enjoy that same aspect in terms of video games. So like
Hmm.
not hearkening to like real life tests, but like in video games, 100% because I
Yeah.
was always like, as someone that's always constantly thinking about narrative and character development, for me to be like,
Hmm.
that's a character's name. we need to go explore that. That was really fun.
Yeah. I think that's the perfect segue to truly dive into the spoilers and talk about some of these characters, because we've got a lot of doozies in the Roottree family. Just to break down like the fuller details of the story. So again, it takes place in 1998 in Butler County, Pennsylvania. We begin with a private jet having crashed. The Roottree private jet crashes, and Carl Roottree and his three famous daughters, are dead. Carl, technically, is the owner of the Roottree Candy Company. This is a legacy, very well-off company founded by his great-grandfather, Elias Roottree. And due to the clan said trust, only blood relatives are able to partake in this vast inheritance. And so this mysterious woman asks us to verify the relations of everyone claiming to be a part of this inheritance. And we are pretty quickly revealed, like not even maybe under halfway through the game, maybe a third of the way, we learn that this woman is a Roottree. We don't get her name until the very end, but we know she is a Roottree. And I remember my initial thought, I was like, okay, there are two reasons why someone would want to find this out. The first is to either prevent people from unlawfully like taking inheritance, or to gain access to the inheritance. So I was like, there's only two ways it can go. And, this is the second case. We're trying to find all this so that she and her descendants can gain access to this inheritance. Before we go into the full like motivation that she had, I'd love to start off with like a breakdown of the family tree, because we have 50, 60 people to sort of talk about. We are, just to clarify for everyone, we're not going to go into the history of every Roottree.
No.
That would be wild. That would be too much. Yeah.
And some of the characters, you don't get a lot of information because they were not boring, but like they just kept to themselves. They didn't go and have a lot of drama, or like they didn't have kids. So there are some avenues of the Rootrees that is just like, okay, this person basically existed and maybe did one thing, but there's not a lot else to look into.
Right. So we generally have like 4 sort of named generations, I believe. I don't think there was a name officially for like the final generation, unless I am totally blanking on it and missed it.
By final, you mean the youngest or the eldest generation?
The youngest.
I feel like maybe I'm thinking of because I also played the DLC.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to the DLC
to that.
But feel free, if there is a generational name you can give to the youngest, feel free to.
I'm also thinking, like, am I confusing the youngest generation with the generation above it, you know? So,
well,
maybe.
We've got sort of I call them the founders. It's really just Elias and his wife, who I feel so bad. It's Gwendolyn, I think was her name.
Gwendolyn, yeah. Right.
And next up, we have the 5 pieces, which were his children, the 5 children that essentially established the 5 flavors of candy that would create this giant corporation. We have the next generation, which are the 5 pieces children. And then we have the free spirits, which is kind of like the 70s, 80s group, time period wise. And then it's like the modern day group, which
would be the 3 sisters generation.
Yes. So if anyone, I am totally blanking on this. If there was a name for that generation, I have forgotten it. So please feel free to comment if there is. One thing that I found really interesting, let's just start with the founders, I guess. What do you think of Elias? Just character profile. What do you feel about him?
He's an asshole, first of all.
Yeah.
Second of all, I wanted to actually find more out about Gwendolyn and her. Like, I know it's very, like, true to, I guess, history of, like, here's all this information during this time of, like, the man and, like, what he did. But I'm like, but Gwendolyn had, like, this whole farm. Like, it was all the candy came from, like, her farm, or, like, all the flavors. came from like that sort of like her situation and what she made and helped with the candy, but it was all on Elias. So Elias got all like the credit. But I wanted to learn more about that whole aspect when we first learned about Gwendolyn. And I felt there wasn't enough, there was not enough information on her. And I felt very upset by it.
Yeah, I agree. And sorry, I just looked up and her name is Gwyneth, so I feel so bad. Gwendolyn was the oldest daughter in the Five Pieces generation.
There's a lot of that though in the game where you're like, there's an Elias Jr., an Elias Jr., there's like
there's a Clancy Edward and there's an Edward Clancy. And I'm like, what is this family's problem where every name sounds the same or is a derivative of another name? Which I guess is now that I think about it, I guess that's a relatively common occurrence because people, names are important. They carry the weight. I'm like, man, we got to get more creative up in this family.
I know. I was like, this family needs better naming things. But also, like, I also get it from a gameplay standpoint of like, that's there to like throw you off or like create some difficulty in trying to determine who is who. So like, I get it. I get it from all angles, but I'm also like, you family, you're boring and you're in naming people. You got to come up with some better names.
Well, and it works because I think this family, because the types of families that I think put that much weight and they have Miracle Jr., the third gen, Clancy Edward and Edward Clancy. These are the kind of families that are so like they focus on, I mean, it's their motto, blood is thicker than syrup. Like the generational legacy is so important to them, but it's also very like overbearing and austere and very old fashioned in a lot of ways that like we don't see, or at least, I don't know, I don't experience, but maybe it's also because I'm not in that demographic.
Right. Yeah.
So, but I agree. I think with that first generation of Gwyneth and Elias, it's like, Elias, I think, only gets the maple syrup farm. The maple farm is her farm. It's her family's.
Yeah.
It's not even his. And so all of this legacy is built off of Gwyneth and her ability to have brought in essentially I'm assuming it was kind of like a dowry inheritance kind of situation maybe, but like he's nothing without his wife. And yet we only see like his name really pushed in that legacy, which was something we saw throughout the generations.
Oh yeah. One of the things that like was relatively funny to me while I was playing with Price is like when you're trying to figure out occupations, like literally for all of the old, like the further back in the generations you go, we had housewife. And so like at one point, Price and I just started putting housewife for everybody and we locked in so many people and I was like,
yep.
I get it, but I'm mad about it. I'm like, come on.
Yeah. So it's like, I think I locked in I think it was actually the two the sisters in the Five Pieces generation where I think I was like, I don't really know. I'm just going to put like housewife, I guess, just to see. And it was so disappointing, but also very, I guess, of those times. Cause the Five Pieces generation that I think was around like the 30s, 40s, maybe it was 40s, 50s, but it definitely was of a time where like women were not seen as full people even in a lot of cases.
So the youngest generation is literally called the youngest generation.
Okay, perfect. I'm just gonna
I think that's their title.
Okay. I did not realize that was the official title. The youngest generation.
I mean, I'm guessing.
Which is so funny because it's like they won't be the youngest generation forever. So that's actually like a really bad generational name to give them unless maybe it's like youngest in spirit and mentality. But
okay, so the Five Pieces, sorry, I just had to skim. The Five Pieces are in like the 50s.
The 50s. So, okay, perfect. And we kind of move in like, again, the sort of 15-year sort of increments because again, it's like each generation represents sort of a different decade. Like the next generation, I assume, is probably like the 60s ish. The free spirits were definitely like the 70s into the 80s, when they sort of came into like adulthood and stuff. And then the youngest generation is of the 90s. So each represents kind of a decade of time. Yeah. So Elias, so we got the founders. I don't think they were given that name, the founders. Also, I just gave them the name because everyone else had a name. And yeah, we have the 5 pieces. And what I found super interesting about the 5 pieces as we learned about them is none of them wanted to or had the ability or skill to inherit the corporation.
Yeah.
Because of Elias's hubris,
Yeah.
honestly, is the way I interpreted it. Is that kind of what you felt and thought as well?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like through the entire story of like people that deserve the inheritance didn't get it, and the people that obviously didn't deserve it got it. You know, like that's a common theme in the whole game of just like, oh, well, you probably are the most like family oriented, you know, or you're the person that we want to promote as the family like patriarch, or the person that is going to be this symbol for the entire family and the entire industry that we have. So you get to be the inheritance rather than the person that's like, no, this person is like, they're good at business, like they should be the one that's inheriting, because it's not only are you inheriting money, but you're inheriting an entire business.
And what's kind of wild is also the fact that Elias, you know, the founder of this company, he held on to that position of president for so I think that there was one piece of evidence that you could read that talks about how he held on to the position of president for so long and didn't properly train his successor,
Yeah.
any successor, so that when the time came where he was like, I gotta retire, what do I do? It's like all of the sons, because the women were considered, you know, ineligible to run a company based on his mentality, all of the sons moved on to different careers. And so it's like his greed, not just for money, but just for maintaining that power and not being willing to pass on a legacy to his kids, meant that none of his sons inherited it. It was a grandson that ended up inheriting it from the next generation, was the second president, which again, we keep hearing this phrase about how blood is thicker than syrup, but I'm like, you really are not taking care of your family at all. Like, you're not setting up a foundation for an actual legacy that will flourish. You're creating the situation that's going to cause so much infighting. And if anyone's watched, what was it, Secession, I think was the show, where like all the brothers and sisters do not really get along, at least from the first episodes that I watched. You're creating this situation where it's like blood is actually not thicker than syrup or sugar, because no one seems to like truly be invested in the family and the well-being of the family as a whole. They're all kind of in for it for themselves.
Yeah, it's just the perceiving, like, this is what we're going to show to the world, and this is what we're going to project to the world, and this is what people should think of us, even if, like, we are not following that, or I'm definitely not following that, you know?
Yeah. Do you have any other of the 5 pieces, or any info about the 5 pieces that you found, like, particularly interesting, or, like...
Let me see. I did, like, was it Gwendolyn who wrote the books? Who wrote the books? There was one of them in the 5 pieces who like wrote a whole bunch of books that you got to look
through. I think Lauren wrote a bunch of books, but I think she was next generation.
Was she the next generation? It's also forever hard to me to keep. Even during the game, I'm like, wait, which generation is this person related to?
I am thinking right now I should have maybe printed out the tree, the completed tree, because that probably would have helped. Because I also ran into the same thing where like a lot of my playthrough was me just going back and forth between the tree and looking at a piece of text and the tree again, just because I wished we could have had them like, and maybe we could and I just didn't figure out how to do it, but like I wished I could have had 2 monitors one with the tree,
Yes.
one with the text,
Agreed.
so that I could cross-reference much more quickly, because my short-term memory is notoriously bad. I feel like, especially in these kind of situations where you have so many names.
And just like, I'm a very visual person, so I'm like, I need to see it to be able to be like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
So that would have been nice too. And I wonder if, like, I'm sure you could have, like, you had the right idea of having two screens up, you know?
Well, no, I wish I could have done that.
Well,
I had it just on one.
But you had the idea just now. So if you're gonna, if you haven't played it yet and you're still here and you want to play it, definitely do that.
Find a way to make it happen. But yeah, Lauren was the one, I think, who did all of the books. So sorry, you can keep talking about.
No, I just really like that, like, that aspect of being like, okay, well, she wrote books, and you find out when she, like, oh, she wrote books about the family, and then you're like, oh, cool, I'm gonna go look up these books. But then there's also, like, some of them are missing and you don't have access to some of the chapters, or like this was edited highly before it went out to public. So it's like, we have to find out what is missing from the original version. I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and trying to get all the hidden stuff, or just like looking through the pictures, or, you know, getting the family history through someone that is actually like, I'm going to tell you how it really was, you know?
Yeah. And what I didn't even think about it until you started talking about it now. But one thing that I think is really interesting is, where do we place like legacy and importance and history? And I feel like everyone, us included, you know, I'm focusing on like the candy business. Oh my God, they're making so much money. That's like so powerful and big, and they're rich and all of that. But you have Lauren here, who she wrote A Life Between Wars. She wrote, I think, was she the one who also wrote romance novels as well?
I think, yes, I think so.
And I remember there was a piece of evidence that talked about how at least A Life Between Wars was used in schools. It was used to help teach not just about like the Roottree family or what life was like, you know, between wars, but just also how writing style changes over time. And I'm like, that is an incredible legacy to leave, and really cool, like, use for, you know, her writing. And I don't know, it's like this idea of legacy. It's like, the family doesn't even seem to super care about this, when I'm like, I would be so proud if like my great grandmother wrote something that's used in schools and is like used to help people interpret history. And it's kind of interesting to think about, where it's like the legacy and the only thing of importance is the inheritance.
Yes. Yeah. And the fact that, like, once again, we have like the misogyny come down through the family tree of like, the only thing that is important is this business that our grandfather, you know, produced. Sure, like these other things where like some of them became movie stars eventually, like in the family, or like becoming a preacher, like a traveling famous show religious man, like those add to the family's name. We don't exactly focus that, but, you know, it's good to spread. We can use these avenues to spread more about our family name and our candy legacy, which I also find, like, now that I'm thinking about it, of like, what aspects, when you were searching, did you focus on the most? Like, did you focus more on like going through the candy route versus like just like going in random places, or did you have like a thread that you were following very closely to?
I feel like, I mean, the game, shout out to the game's tutorialization, because at the start, you know, you get the notable root trees where it's like these ones have stars on them, so it kind of like gives you the first, I think, like 9, maybe 6 or 9 names that are like, these are the easy ones to find. So I did that first, just to like lock in, you know, my kind of anchor root trees. And then for my brain, what actually helped me stay organized is I was open to like information as I was searching for it and finding it, but I really tried to guide my path down from like the 5 pieces generation. And then I went into each branch of those 5 pieces as best as I could. And it wasn't really like that perfect. Like
Right.
I remember, after I went down, I think it was Elias Jr.'s, I got like a good chunk of it done. But then I went to like the Miracles family branch because that was pretty easy, and then I jumped over to Gwendolyn, and that kind of went back and forth, but I tried to keep it, after I got the 5 pieces locked in, like pretty narrow down each branch. What about you?
I feel like sort of the same way of like, once because the tutorial was like, here are, like you were saying, here are the main things that you should probably look into first, right? Once we got to like the 5 pieces, I feel like the miracle stuff was so like interesting that we just like did that whole family first. And then I think we moved on to, once that related back, because I think Miracle also like talked about like doing some of the movie stuff or like the Hollywood stuff. So then it moved into like figuring out that whole family as much as we could. So like sort of just going down the lines of families and then being like, all right, so we have all this family information, but now we need to connect them all together.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I think, again, the structure of the game is so nice because it does feel, it never felt like I got stuck at any point, like super stuck. I felt like there was always an avenue for me to take. So it was, I think it was like super just well designed in that respect.
Yeah, I agree. And even if you do get stuck or like you've put yourself in a corner where you're like, I don't remember what to look up, there is a really nice hint system that, because we used it a couple of times for both like the DLC and the real game, just because we also wanted to beat it in like a somewhat, we didn't want to spend like a lot of time being like, oh, let's go back and go through everything, right?
Yeah.
I think it had a good way of being like, here's a hint of what you should do without just being like, you should look up this person. It was very much like, maybe you should read that article about, these candy pieces or like something like that, that it was very generous in terms of like, maybe you should look at this thing, not like you should look this up, if that makes sense.
It does. I thought, I used the hint system once. And honestly, if I had to also like play it within a specific amount of time or it was on a bit more of a crunch, it would have been like the perfect, I think, like a near perfect hint system based on like what I experienced. The 5 pieces, I don't remember if we mentioned this, but the generation is called the 5 pieces because the candy that was originally released, I think it was like a sugar hard candy, and there were 5 different flavors, each representing one of Elias's 5 children.
Right.
So that's
and
where
and the flavors also had the same first letter of the candy. So it was like, hold on, what does it say in this? I'm on the wiki for all the characters because there's so many.
Oh, that's smart.
Hold on, let me turn off my heater. Don't want that background noise. Let me see if it has that information. I'm like, I feel like it should. I don't think it does, but it would be like chocolate for like Clancy or something like that,
Yeah, it was like Elias was elderberry.
Yes.
I forget what the other flavors were, but yeah, each of them corresponded to a flavor. But we do know also that one of the flavors was changed. So there are original flavors and then there's like updated flavors. Which, I guess that's a normal thing that happens with candies, right? But we learn later that there's a bit more, because of course there's more, because it's the Roottrees and everything they do has drama laced into it somehow. One thing that, speaking of like threads that we went down and sort of rabbit holes that we chased, there was one rabbit hole that I wanted to bring up, and that's like the Roottree curse that I forget exactly what search led me to it, but someone had mentioned there was like a Roottree curse because of all these like sort of weird deaths that were happening in the family, and the connection of things like, and here are the words that I identified that I listed with it. It's like the Mayan ruby skull, Operation RT29, the infusion or addition of polyglycerol polyricinoleate to the candy, and Thomas Overwood, who's like the person who's writing all of this stuff, and like basically what I found intriguing, because I did this as a quote investigator, I was there looking up facts about the root trees, trying to fill out this family tree. And I spent a decent amount of time diving into this rabbit hole of like, Operation RT29, I think, if I remember correctly, that had to do with the fact that the Roottree company was infusing the chemical polyglycerol polyricinoleate into the candy for like brainwashing purposes. And this guy, Thomas Overwood, is the one like who's writing all of this misinformation essentially, and he also created a page about how spirit cola stands for something about, I don't know, it was like satanistic cola, dog whistle kind of stuff. And it was so fascinating because I started and I was like, oh, this is kind of funny and interesting, and there's like a split second of like, wait, what is going on here? Is there a conspiracy happening? Right. And there's not. To be 100%, it's like, there's no conspiracy. Satan is not they're not brainwashing people, like none of that. But it was so easy to fall into like, oh, what's next? This is is this a horror game? Is this actually scary?
Well, and just like being people that have played video games for a very long time, I always feel like in narrative games, or like, in classic JRPG fashion, like you talk to one NPC and that NPC says something like just, off the cuff of something, and you're like, that's the truth. Like this person was saying the truth. So I always feel like when I'm playing a narrative game, in the back of my mind, if there's something like that is so nonchalant and you don't think it's like gonna do anything, I'm like, we gotta figure this out. So like, that's where my brain goes immediately.
And it's so funny because, it's like there's a part of me that's like, oh, they put it in here, so maybe there's like, again, maybe this is the path we're supposed to take. But after just a little bit of that, I was like, wait a second, this is conspiracy. And I think even in the Thomas Overwood page, if you look up his name, it's like, this guy's a conspiracy theorist. He's obviously like, again, once you get down to the rabbit hole of like, well, you can probably tell relatively sooner, but I was thinking maybe we're going down a horror game route. But like by Spirit Cola, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, this is definitely not real. This is internet conspiracy. But it did a really good job of, in that moment of me like following the trail, getting to the point of like, oh man, I mean, like this is how nowadays people could look at the internet and depending on what they're reading, fall into those conspiracies that definitely are not true. So, I thought it was just an interesting, I kind of wish they did more with that, although I understand that would definitely overscope the game and also like isn't the point of the game. But this idea of like, not only not everything in the game is true if we look it up online, which again, that's rule number one of the internet. Don't trust everything you read on the internet. But there was a part of me that kind of forgot that because everything else was so factual and like everything else was evidence. And I don't know, there was a part of me that was like, oh, maybe there is something more. So I don't know. It's just an interesting moment in playing the game.
It is an interesting, and I can't remember if this was just in the DLC versus in the main game, but there are some threads, and I think it has to do with what we were talking about of that that special cameo appearance or Easter egg. There is like a couple of things I remember us going down rabbit holes of, and literally in the game, it's like, this has nothing to do, like in the thing is like, this has nothing to do with it. And I'm like, come on, no, it has to. And the game is literally saying like, no, you're wrong. Like there's nothing left of this. Like this is nothing to do with what you're trying to accomplish. You're like, come on,
Right.
yes there is. I'm gonna find it.
Yeah.
This is trying to throw me off the track. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's telling you
Yeah.
you can leave it alone.
And I appreciated that about
Yeah.
the game because it always was, which is also why like the fact that you could go down this rabbit hole was really interesting because in every other instance up until that point, if something wasn't relevant, the game was just like not relevant.
Yeah.
It's not a thing. So I thought it again, I was like, it's a really cool moment and I would have loved to see that expanded on, even though I know that's not, again, the intention of the game itself. But like again, my teacher brain, I was like, oh, if we could do the Roottree Are Dead student edition, make
Oh my
it
gosh.
more bites, just a little bit more bite size.
Yep.
Get kids to like engage with this game. That would be such a fun unit.
Yeah.
Teachers out there, please make this unit happen. I might just have to design lesson plans around it because it's just
Yeah,
so
you
cool.
will.
But yeah, sorry, I think I derailed us talking about that rabbit
It's
hole.
totally fine. But that's one of the fun things about this game is you can go, like you're saying, down these interesting paths, which I think actually leads it to more. It's more realistic in that sense. And one of the things that we were talking about, and Jenny was talking about in terms of like the characters and how we relate to certain characters and how some people in the community said that they related to certain characters by like their life experience and like what they've gone through in relation to these characters. And for me, it was sort of like an outsider looking in. Like I didn't like for me I didn't relate to the characters in a sense of like, oh, I really loved Lauren because they're a writer and I'm a writer and I felt connected to her. It was more like I felt connected to the aspect of being on the outside and finding the connections. Like that is what I really enjoyed about and what I sort of spoke to me on that sense of like, I'm getting into the family and the drama of it rather than getting into the individual characters.
Yeah, I also felt like I was much more into the whole picture, kind of like you said, like the family drama. Quite frankly, the more I got to know most of the individual characters, the less I liked them.
Yes.
This is the family where, with a few exceptions, mostly the women,
Yep.
you really just are just I was unimpressed at best with a lot of these folks. And so and you have like the miracle branch of the family tree where I'm like I was so enraged because oh my gosh, they basically are those like sort of scammy televangelist kind
They're
of
snake
people.
oil salesmen.
Yeah. And what was it? They're defrauding the public by claiming to heal people. I forget what the lore was, but like Miracle Junior, Miracle Senior.
There's too
One
many
of them
miracles.
was like unable to see, but then like got their vision again. I don't know. It was just like that for me is like one of the most despicable kind of people.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think that was maybe my least favorite branch of the family. But
Yeah,
honestly,
they
the
were
bar is
horrible.
pretty low.
Yeah, the bar is so low.
I feel like the patriarch, though, Elias, for sure, takes the cake for like setting up this system, the trust. That really ends up kind of like creating this domino effect of how people in the family are treated. I want to talk about basically what happens to a lot of the black sheep of the family because that ends up being the turning point within the story.
Yeah.
As we play, you know, we've learned about all these different generations, how a lot of the family is a part of this trust, but there are also a lot of family members because they are not directly blood related to the root tree, I guess, tree, they are considered, quote, like illegitimate family members and they are not included in the trust. And that's what Samantha Madsen, aka Samantha Roottree, as we find
called
out.
it.
Yeah.
Easily.
she is the person who is approached you to create this family tree because her father was removed from the bloodline because Elias found out that he was gay. And we learn, I know, I was actually not, I did not guess that twist. I guessed her, and I guessed that she probably had descendants who would want to like be reimbursed essentially. But like learning that Elias, who had a twin in the family, and he was kicked out and his twin wasn't, because he's gay, and that basically Elias Roottree was homophobic, never changed. Blood was not homophobic and hypocritical because blood was not thicker than water. That is like the big twist. And so her goal is not only to lock in that trust for her descendants, her daughters and granddaughters, but to reveal just what is going on with this family and publishing it.
Yeah. And the fact that like not how easy, but I guess like just the cover-ups of certain scandals that tarnish, the family tree and what lengths those people will go to cover up these things.
Right. Because I think, because also like what's wild to me is that, like the Roottree family are absolutely willing to take the credit of the things that go well. Again, like Lauren's books. I think, was it like an Elias Jr. or Elias who did like the chips, wasn't it? Like the maple chips or the maple crisps.
Oh, I don't even remember the maple crisps.
And that like did super well, and that like actually brought in a lot of profit for the company. And he only got like $37 from all of that, and everyone else everyone else is part of the trust, so they profited much more significantly. And so it's just all of the ways that the saying of how blood is thicker than syrup only serves to maintain whatever status quo, like the patriarchal status quo, and anything outside of that is like, well, that doesn't count. We're not going to talk about that.
Oh yeah. Especially like also another thing, besides like being like, oh, we can't have gay people in our family. What? It's also like children born out of wedlock. So it is that very like religious Christian like ordeal, like archetype of like, we have to be perfect like this,
Yeah. So what did you think? Did you predict like the whole twist? Did you predict everything as you were looking at it? Or were you also like, I was like, as soon as I put it together, I was like, oh my God, I did not see that coming.
I feel like obviously before the very end, when it's like, we're going to reveal everything, we definitely had an idea. Like once we found like the connection between, there was like one article about a farmhand that went to go like, I think once we found out Sam was born out of wedlock and then like was going into like someone else's care on the farm, both Price and I were like, well, I think we figured it out, and that there was still this connection to this one farmhand. I was like, why is this farmhand important? And I was like, oh, okay. We get it now. And why are they still connected to the family if they're just a random farmhand, right? So I feel like at that point we put the dots together.
Yeah. Well, and like the secret twin thing, again, I was like, what? A secret twin? But then I was like, I've watched enough soap operas. I've watched
There's always a secret twin.
There's always a secret twin. So I felt like I should have gotten that, but I did not. So that was one where I was like, oh, they got me. They got me on that one. But I was really, I loved like the moment of realization was super satisfying. I felt like, again, I felt like I had earned that as a player. And yeah, I think what was really interesting to me about this game, a lot of what I ended up taking from it, I was thinking about was, again, this idea of like hard legacy versus soft legacy, where it's like there's the money, the corporation, like that element, but so much of the soft legacy has been and continues, even with Samantha's writing, continues to be influenced by the women in the family.
Yes.
And again, it's like Lauren's books, Samantha, she's writing another book that's going to be influencing, what happens to the perception of the Roottrees. But these are the people, the farmhand, like these are all the people who have actually made the family like really what it is, but they have not benefited from it. And so I thought that was really fascinating. I think, again, this game just really shows how the patriarchy sucks.
Yep.
And how really the blood is thicker than syrup. It doesn't give any regard to the ways that found family is so important. Like adoptive family is so important. And so it's like, it's interesting how that saying out, if you're not within it, it just like dehumanizes everyone outside of like the direct line that they create.
Well, and it also feels like this is our business motto and not actually a family motto at all,
that's a
right?
really
It's a
good
business transaction. It is not part of what is family.
That's wild. Yeah, definitely not a family I would want to be a part of. You could not pay me to be part of that family.
No. Which is why I also felt fine, like not having any connections with the characters. I'm like, these are rich people with a lot of money and a lot of secrets, and I am okay being just this outsider figuring that all out and everything.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you have like, again, like the family members some of them try to like break out of it a little bit. Again, I'm thinking of the Rolling On Down the City, where it's like they tried to make a song, like they use the money and the fame to like try and make a song. I think it was about the war and just how they don't want it, but it's like at the end of the day, that message from them, nobody cares. They care about like the disco of it, And so I found that pretty interesting as well.
And it also, like, one of the aspects that I wish there was more of, but I understand why there's not, is like when you get to those younger generations, and those are the people that have been removed from the family in a sense of like, you go down like the housewife's family tree or whatever, and where that leads. And then you just have like they're normal people. Like, this is a student that has like some relation to the Roottrees, but really like, they don't see any of the money at all because they're so like down the chain, because all the people at the top of the chain and the closest related are in charge of the money. So it's like, these are just normal people that don't really have anything to do with anything else. But I wanted to find more out about like the younger generation and like some of the kids, or, that whole aspect.
I'm curious because you've played Roottree Mania, which is like the next sort of section. I have not yet. So does Roottree Mania delve into like future generations? How far is it separate from like the 1998 moment that we're in right now and the Roottrees are dead?
It takes place actually quite fast, like after that. I think it's either a year and a half. Basically, not spoilers I'm not going to spoil the Roottree Mania, but essentially, Sam has taken over the trust and is like trying her best to like make sure that all family members are getting what's owed to them. And the story, the DLC Roottree Mania opens up with another person coming to your door mysteriously being like, so here is what's happening. This famous rapper has claimed to be part of the Roottree family as a secret Roottree, because the family is like, we never have affairs. Of course, there are no secret children. But now that Sam is being like, I want to make sure that everyone who's part of the Roottree family is getting what's owed to them. You have all these different people popping up being like, I'm a Roottree as well, and I'm a Roottree. So you have to go back into the family tree and figure out who's actually a Roottree and who is not blood related, or who is just like claiming to be a Roottree because they want the fame and the fortune.
Right. Which I'm sure, it's like if you have a book publicly talking about you know, all the dirty laundry of a family, it's like, I'm sure there's going to be some people who try to take advantage of a situation like that.
I do suggest that you play the DLC soon afterwards, because the one, and this, I think the DLC does a really good job of reminding you of the important aspects, but I feel like if you play Roottree Mania quickly after playing the other one, you're not going to forget as much stuff as like Price and I did, because we're like, wait, we have to go back and remember like what happened, and like, and it does, like I said, it does a really good job of being like, this is what was in the main game. So if you want to read that, you can. This is not relevant to like this information that you already read and solved for the first game is not going to be relevant for what you're doing now, but it does have like good reminders of like,
okay.
And there are certain articles that have gotten updated and changed due to all the new stuff and the new information that has come out. And yeah, just finding out like more about like all the affairs and like who is a secret Roottree versus who isn't was a lot of fun too. So if you like that one, and it's good because it builds upon what you've already figured out. So you're like, oh, there's more drama. I mean, we already know that there was, you know, some affairs going on, but we get to find out more information on this. Yes, please.
Yeah. I'm really excited. I'm probably going to play Roottree Mania. I'm thinking on my flight over to PAX East. Honestly, I feel like that's going to be this. I have like a 5-hour, almost 6-hour flight. Yeah. That should be more than enough time. Yeah. For Roottree Mania, and then Pacopia is the plan. Yep. We totally, I know we're like a little over time, so I don't want to keep you too long, but like I did have so many moments again, like with the drama of this family. Like I think the one that caused my jaw to drop, there were so many jaw dropping moments, but I forget which family member, but one of the Roottree guys married, I think it was a LaRue family member. It was like something LaRue. And then he cheated on her with her sister.
Yes, I remember that. Because like the whole like thread is like a long line of like this person, but then this person is related, and you're like, what is happening? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like sisters. And then if I did this correctly, because this wasn't like a thing you had to find out necessarily, but I think he married a sister of
the other sister.
There were three
sisters.
Who was
three sisters. Yep.
Yeah. And so I'm just like,
yeah, like this guy
is dating each other. Like,
literally
what?
dated all the sisters, and you're like, what?
Yeah. So there were some moments of true, just like pure soap opera drama. That was really fun to discover. Again, it's giving me the guilty pleasure of going down sort of the gossip column rabbit holes, but not actually be a gossip column rabbit hole. Like, I don't know. I think about like the ways people look into Britney Spears is kind of the big one of our time. I feel like, where it's like people aren't looking at her like family tree necessarily. Well, but they kind of are, because they're looking at like what her dad does and did to her, and like what her sister and her mom and like the rest of her family members. And I think about how in this case we were ultimately doing it for a good cause, to try and like bring to light the sort of injustices within this family and the unfair treatment of people. But like when you see it going down the rabbit hole of things like celebrity culture, I don't know, I'm like, man, I don't know if we should be doing this. This doesn't feel great.
Yeah.
Although one could argue that, like, again, there was a lot of this investigatory work online, at least again for the case of Britney Spears, which if anyone's like a Britney Spears fan or knows more about this, I only know the cursory amounts. So don't come for me if I'm like totally inaccurate, but like I feel like it did a lot of good at first in terms of illuminating what was going on with her, like court ordered, I forget what it's called, but like how she wasn't able to make decisions for herself. But I feel like it's like I still see people posting about her and her life and investigating deeply into it, and I'm like, we should probably just like let her live and live. And it feels like now it's I don't know. And even back then, it's kind of like, is this a good thing to like have people do, like to microscope, look at someone's life who's not yours and then suddenly start making calls about it. So I was thinking honestly about Britney Spears by the end of this, which was like a weird thing. But that's a connection my brain made as well. Just kind of like how this is actually done in real life by people who aren't actually detectives.
Yeah. And just like internet sleuths or whatever. Yeah. It's very interesting. And yeah, I feel like if these were actual real people and this wasn't a game, I would not give a fuck. I'd be like, I hate these people. And that's all I need to know. True. I don't care about their family. I don't care about anything. But when you have this like sort of as a game element to be like, all right, we're going to do some drama things. Like, yeah, that's
fun.
That's fun when it's fictional and you can just enjoy a made-up story about made-up people, and then you don't have to relate it back to like all the horrible shit that these people have actually done.
Yes, we have enough of that.
Yep.
We have enough millionaires and billionaires that actually suck in real life. Thank you so much, Anna. I know we're over time, so I want to let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. It's always a joy to be here and talking video games. So if you ever want to play some more narrative games, I'll be right here.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So if you could remind folks where to find you and where to find Stumped, the floor is yours.
Yes. So my handle almost everywhere is Peachy Anna. Peachy like the fruit, and then my first name Aenne. If you want to watch mine and Price's playthrough of Roottrees, you can find it on Stumped at YouTube, and then we're Stumped Gamers everywhere else. Eventually, Price and I will be doing more detective games, because now that we've made a joke that whenever Ash and Jazz are gone and it's just me and Price, we're always like, let's play detective games. So we've coined our agency as Princess and Princess Detective Agency, and the next one we're going to play is Oberdin. So I'm like, Ash, go on vacation without me next time so that I can play this game with Price.
I am so excited for your Oberdin playthrough. I thoroughly enjoyed that game. And I'm very excited to see what y'all do with it. And for everyone at Geeks and Grounds, again, this month we won't have the meeting in Discord. At least with me, you are always all welcome to hang out in Discord whenever you would like, if you'd like to just chat about Roottrees Are Dead. But I will be at PAX East, probably exhausted, but still talking to people at the show. For April... Oh my God, I cannot believe it's April already.
I know.
Wow. I would love to encourage you all to get out your coloring supplies, because we are going to be getting a little creative and perhaps dealing with hopefully we're not actually dealing with burnout, but we're going to be talking about some tough creative burnout and
story
identity
of my life being burnt out.
Yeah. So we're going to be playing Chicory, A Colorful Tale for April. And the wonderful Josh Boykin will be joining us once again. Yay! So I'll be posting more details about that as we get closer to April. But as always, you can just buy and play the game ahead of time, get started so that you're just moving at your own pace if you need that extra time. You can find out all the details at geeksandgrounds.com. And you can find the rest of the games for the year, except for, I think, July, which I'm like, I know it's probably not going to happen, but I'm like, Deltarune, please release the chapter for my birthday. But other than July, I believe all the other games for the year are selected. So please go check that out and you can plan ahead. And I think that is it. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. Again, I'm excited to create art with you all next month in color, and we will see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.